with both the forecast winds and the actuals being very much top end. Essentially down on the beach it's about trim speed. Trim speed of typical glider, 38 kilometers an hour, 24 miles an hour, 20 knots or 10 meters a second. So at wing height, once I've popped the wing up, trim speed is pretty well matching the wind speed. Done a number of flights at Luton Bay already today. And this was from the 23rd of 10th 2016 and as you may tell from the voice, pretty chilly day, but some good flying nonetheless. So definitely a day to get the gloves on. And just running through all the checks as normal. So this is Victor India, Golf Victor India. So call sign is photo glider, but so we're not flying near any airports here, not got the radios on. Some fairly heavy rain in the morning, so this was coming out mid-afternoon. See if we could grab an hour or so before it would get too windy and possibly a bit more rain again. We were lucky on the rain and it was definitely getting towards the top end of the wind, so I was down there flying for an hour or so. So this position, as you should be able to see on the occasional glance, is almost no brakes used at all. But 95% plus of the weight is on the wing, so basically tiptoeing on the heels or the side of the boots and keeping the load fully on the wing. And for most of this section I'm also remaining in the crossed position because that increases the trim speed. It would do it both when you're flying and it does it when you're on the ground. So a wee bit of left brake occasionally added in to help keeping the vector. So basically sort of vector thrust. It's using the trailing edge deflection to help the wing move to its left. At any point in time, if the ground speed was to go negative, be ready to go onto the safety risers and kill the wing. Now I actually do want to go back towards the ridge here, so I've turned around to facing forwards, so it's in the flight direction. The risers are no longer crossed. That reduces the trim speed and it makes it that little bit easier and you don't need to use as much brake to get back. Now that I've got to the gap, I now want to again be crossed, have the wing rolled, so the wing is kept rolled to the left, taking me along, as you can see, very little break there, just a couple of inches occasionally, taking me back into the ridge line, and again, once I'm in the position I want, uncrossing the risers. Despite the fact there's no other pilots flying there, checking your airspace isn't just for other aircraft, it's also checking for anybody that might be out walking a dog, say on the natural slope, and just come down and appeared on the beach. And it's pretty well a scratch along here. A couple of touchdowns if I remember correctly, certainly did from the earlier flights. And quite a lot of land slipping on the dune line and also on the top of the ridge line. It was there, slipped down. Keep checking the airspace. Make the speed bar ready just in case, and then reacquiring. Now notice there I let go the brake on the ridge side, because if anything you're going to want to control the wing out from the ridge, so if you have to let go one brake, you're better deciding and making an informed choice as to which brake you release for that second or two. Okay, so I'm just pointing out some of the landslip areas. And again checking the airspace. You can see from the leaning outside the risers, it's mainly harness control. Forearms give you more control on your lean. previous flights, despite the wind speed not being much difference, and there wasn't that much more lighting, it was a wee bit sun, but it wasn't as if it was thermic. Previous flights I was getting probably about 3 times the ridge height by this point, whereas here I'm just getting about ridge height or slightly above. Also seems to have shifted around a wee bit more northeast, so it's a slight headwind beat. Again, checking the airspace. So even when you know you're flying on your own, that's the sort of thing you want to be building up as a constant, built-in, trained procedure. Check your airspace. So you don't just want to do it on busy ridges, and you want to be used to doing it all the time. So you're used to looking around, but without turning the glider by shifting your weight. The bird of prey, which was up earlier on, still there. One big advantage when you're flying at this time of year is there's an awful lot less length in the vegetation on the slopes, so that if you are top landing or taking off, it's a lot easier. In the high summer it can be quite a tricky sight to take off in medium conditions because of the amount of vegetation that catches the lines, particularly on a high performance comp glider or something with unsheathed lines. So, as usual, constantly looking around. Also checking the water, so what you're doing is you're looking for any extra runnels on the water, any increase in the white caps. Although it's not blatantly obvious, out, can't see at the moment, see if the camera looks round. Yeah, well out in front of the bay, that's actually a bit of heavy rain cloud. At this point in time, it's still quite a few miles out to sea. And again, you can't really see it on the camera, but along to the right we have some wind turbines up on the hill. So you're looking at the blade angle, whether they're clockwise, side on, or anti-clockwise, as the variation in the local airflow changes. If you start seeing them anti-clockwise looking at the back of the blades, then particularly when you fly far long right beat to near the pickup area, you got to watch for turbulence as it's slightly in the lee side of the cliffs. It can go very lee. A couple of times on the later flights, and certainly very much so on the earlier flights, I was getting a good bit more height than this and getting right out almost to the surf line. So despite the wind speed being pretty well constant, the amount of lift that we were getting off the ridge and the beach slope itself was considerable at times. This time of year there's no depth in the crops, it's just little leafy bits poking through, so you can top land and you're not damaging any crops. Again, sites like this, that's obviously a feature you've got to watch out for. You've got a very good relationship with all the farmers. You see the risers disappear in the pictures, and sometimes I'll go upright, so I'll increase the drag on, pointing out to the rain cloud out there, go upright to increase the drag on the pilot so the aircraft flies faster. It's quite a good subtle way of getting forwards, and forwards can take you down as well. Constantly looking around, checking. particularly in advance of any turns. Cutting back to the low front ridge line. So at the top of the ridge you're 20 plus knots. At the beach out front you're about 20 knots. In the sweet spot where the wind is vectored, it's got the upward component, you can easily fly long. Getting all the usual checks. And roll, 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 and it's just dead stop. Flick to reversed, roll the wing to the right, so dropping the tip, and that's why you can see the tip there, to take me back along towards the pickup, and one of the chaps that used to fly sailplanes. Unless that was on the later flight, but I think it was this one I was stopped to chat to him. One of the local guys. Again, any point, just ready with the safety procedures if you need. Now the original tank traps, there's still the remains of the concrete there, and when it's as windy as this is, it's actually very handy for parking the wing.
Afternoon.
So start to wing rolled level, acquire the safeties. Just judge the gap, and then walk, 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 just settle the wing down.
It's chilly up there.
Too much safeties it tends to lift, but the main aim there is just to bounce it off so you're not dragging it about, and let it settle. And then, there we go, with the left wing tip. Let's get that back as well.
No, I fly the only paragliders that
Time to warm up, have a wee chat, chill out.
Yes. The gliders have had to be registered for quite a long time now. Yeah. I mean, originally it was obviously just with the Gliding Association. Yeah.
Aye.